Hi BookTube! I'm here with another review for the Hillary Weston Writers Trust Prize for Nonfiction 2020, which is awarded to Canadian nonfiction, and this is the nominees for this year's prize. This review is going to be specifically about Through the Garden, A Love Story with Cats by Lorna Crozier. So first off, I want to start by admitting that I did not finish reading this book. I got 100 pages from the end before I decided I just didn't want to spend any more time on it. I didn't even want to skim read it. So this is a memoir about Lorna Crozier, a Canadian poet, and her relationship with another Canadian poet, Patrick Lane, reflecting both on their past relationship and on their present relationship as he's going through this kind of mysterious illness, and it's not a spoiler to know that he is going to die. So it's also a memoir about Lorna's love of poetry. So part of the reason I couldn't bring myself to finish this was I just don't think that Crozier and I would get along in real life. And I didn't want to spend any more time with her on the page than I would have if we'd met in real life. It's just a fundamental difference between two people. So it is a very personal, you know, not that I think everyone deserves love and respect, but there's just some people that you don't get along with, and I don't think I'd get along with Lorna. So when writing a memoir, I believe that the author should be critical of themselves and not just kind of present everything as if they were kind of bragging about themselves. You know, especially if their actions are morally questionable. I won't come out and say directly, you know, this was wrong and this was right, but because I can see how we can disagree on those things, but to me, you should at least ask how your actions reflect on yourself, if there's even that question of whether they were right or wrong. So for example, the first time I kind of knew that there was this difference between us, that we wouldn't get along, was when she actually contemplated returning a cat back to the shelter. And to be honest, I judged her pretty hard for that, and I will judge you pretty hard for that, and maybe that's a failing on my part for judging people about that, but like, how can you do that to an animal? You know, like, understand if maybe the animal is a threat to like you, your children, or to your other pets. Watch an episode of My Cat from Hell and like learn how to deal with cat behavior, and you know, don't put a cat through that torture again of being abandoned. Like my own cat, when I got him from the SPCA, they said, you know, he's already been returned, just to let you know that there was a situation, and he was hiding, you know, and they didn't see him for 2 weeks, and that's why they returned him. And I was just like, my heart broke. I was like, how can you do that to an animal? Like this is someone new coming into your home. They have to adjust, and a cat doesn't have the same logic and reasoning to work through, you know, okay, this is a good thing. You know, this cat's just like, this is a brand new environment. These people are all up in my space. Like, you know, give the cat some time. And I even said to myself, I'm like, even if I never see this cat, I'm not going to return him. Like, you don't do that. You work around the behavior. You take the steps to fix that behavior, because you are the one that has that reasoning and that logic to be able to do that. Sorry, we're not talking about cats here, even though it is subtitled with cats. Anyways, another example is how she completely glosses over how she cheated on her first husband with Patrick. And this is, I think, the kind of self-examination and critical glance that a reader expects to find in a memoir that is specifically about that relationship. To the point that you even subtitle your memoir A Love Story. Like, talk about the beginning of the love story and maybe how that had an effect on, you know, I think he was married too at the same time. Like, talk about that. You know, that's important to reflect on and to know yourself better. I do understand that this is her story and, you know, she gets to control what is told and what is not, but it also got boring because, you know, how good of a light she was presenting herself in, and how great she thought her relationship was, while turning a blind eye to like those not so great aspects. And I say this because she didn't question her judgment of returning the poor cat, you know. She presented that as if it was just something everyone does and thinks about, you know, and I hope not. I really sincerely hope that there are more people who are willing to work on a cat's behavior and work with them than not. I'm going on about the cat thing again. Sorry. you know, I can just go on about some of the other ways in which she does not present herself in the best of lights, but doesn't question that judgment. You know, she even brags about how powerful her hateful gaze is, to the point that it killed an aquarium full of fish, and she kind of like wished that the person that she was staring at was the person who had the effect and not the fish. And I was just like, are you not, like, what, this woman didn't really do anything to you besides have a relationship with your husband prior to you did. I'm just like, and you cheated on your own husband. Like, I was just like, I'm sorry, I'm just gonna stop. Another point I think we disagree on is what makes poetry. So, I mean, like, she's accomplished a poet, she's does readings, she's published books, this is how she makes her living, so maybe we just disagree on this, but I don't like her poetry, at least what she included in the book. Because to me, poetry has to have rhythm. That is the core thing. I don't care about rhyming, I don't care about the topic, I don't care how deep the poem is. If it doesn't have rhythm, it's just a paragraph chopped up into different lines. You know, poetry has to have rhythm. Admittedly, there was one poem that I did find have rhythm, and I thought it was funny, and I thought it was entertaining, and I thought it was a good poem. But that was one poem out of how many that she included in here. And that was actually called My Last Erotic Poem, if you want to look it up. So I am struggling to come up with something positive to say about this memoir. But I do have to say that the gaze with which she looks at Patrick when they are older and when he is sick and going through this illness is quite endearing. And the details that she goes into to explain that was really nice to read about. And I'm actually going to share a passage here about it. Patrick has an inordinate love of spiders. I learned from him that if I don't want one in the house, I don't stamp on it and smash it flat as my mother, proud housekeeper that she was, would have done. I slide it onto a piece of paper and carry it outside. If it were up to him, our rooms would be sighing with webs. He's on the poetess's side. Don't worry, spiders, I keep house casually. I delight with him when I come upon their handiwork in the fall, strung between the shrubs and pearled with dew. I lean in, seeing with his nearsighted eyes the big female pluck her strings at the center of her web. We stand still and silent, as if she can hear us, and follow the male spider's attempt to approach her to mate, his brave 8-footed dance inching him towards her. There's a quick collision, then a stillness and a commotion as he flees. Yeah. And excuse the cattail. See, this is Reggie now. This is Reggie now. He does not want to leave my side. This is the cat that they returned because they didn't see him for 2 weeks. And it took him about 2 weeks to get used to me. Didn't it? Didn't it? And now he hates me. But I love him, and I keep him, and I feed him. Yes, I do. And I clean out his eyes. Because that's what you do. How you treat animals reflects on you personally. I'm gonna shut up now. You can read this book if you want. Don't take my judgment for it, but those are just my thoughts. And thank you for watching.